Hey YouTube, I like my bricks shaken and not stirred just like 007, and today we're taking a look at his DB5. Hey guys, and welcome to Brick Talk TV. Terry here, and in today's episode we're checking out the James Bond Aston Martin DB5 set number 10262. This set came out in 2018 and it consists of 1,295 parts spread over 4 bags. It didn't take too long to construct, and if you advance with the brick this can easily be built in a couple of hours. The set retails for £129.99, but you can get deals for this set and you can snap it up for £100 if you keep an eye out in the stores. The build experience sees you start out with the base frame for the vehicle using a Technic frame, then moving on to build out the middle of the car, which includes the seats, the doors, and then you move on to the engine and the boot area, before finally finishing off with the bonnet and the roof itself. So let's flip over now and walk through the model itself and show you some of the features. So here's the model itself then, and as you can see it's a fairly nice size. It's not as impressive, say, as the Ghostbusters Ecto-1 or the Batmobile that have been recently built by myself. Those are a lot larger and probably are about that much bigger in terms of the length and the overall sort of size. But it's still a suitable size, I think, for this particular kind of car. Of course, as it's slightly bigger, it isn't to minifig scale, so you're not going to be sticking any Lego figures inside of this car. You'd probably have to build a custom sort of James Bond figure yourself if you wanted it to put inside this car. And overall, as I said on the intro, you kind of start building out the Technic frame at the base. Then you build in the middle parts of this car for under the bonnet kind of details before moving through to the aesthetics of the sort of body, the bonnet and the roof. There are lots of features packed inside this car, and there's lots of sort of Technic mechanisms that you build into the car in order for it to do certain things as you'd expect it to do on the sort of James Bond movies. So I'll try and talk through some of those features as we go through the car now. One of the sort of easiest ones to talk about first off is that on the wheels, these little spikes here, you can pull them off. And this isn't an automatic thing, you have to manually change this. But you pull these little ninja spikes off, and then you attach the telescope piece to each of the wheels, and you stick these on the end to give a notion of the James Bond movie where those spikes pop out of the wheels of his car and they tear the tyres up of any enemies that are running alongside him. So those are some manual changes you can make. The movement is just forward and back. There's no turning mechanism in here as you've seen in such things as the Batmobile and the Ecto-1. So it's just forward and back. But really this is supposed to be, I suppose, a display piece rather than thinking you could play with it in any great detail and steer it around. In the front, also synonymous with this car, you've got the ability to change the license plates on the front and the back. So if anyone of you are familiar with the James Bond movies, you'll know that given certain circumstances or in different countries, he may rotate his license plates so that he can't be tracked by police or by anybody who's looking for him, even though this car kind of does stand out, so it probably does ruin it in terms of trying to stay incognito. But again, this isn't a mechanism that you twist anything and it automatically rotates. You have to physically rotate these pieces round to display a new license plate. So there's one at the front and one at the back, and they're independent of each other. So you have to be mindful to make sure that they're set to the same. I do find the flipping mechanism a little stiff, and I have a couple of times ripped off the front as I've tried to rotate these round. Whether that's just me being heavy-handed, I'm not sure. But I suppose once you've used it a few times, it gets easier just to rotate it round. So those are another features. The doors do open, so you can see you build the doors out of bricks themselves, so they're individually built and mounted onto the bricks. And then if I rotate this one round, this is the driver's side, and you'll notice here it differs in terms of the design internally. On this driver's door, there is a little pull down here with a little emergency telephone, which I think was in Goldfinger, but I may be wrong, it may be Dr. No. But there is a telephone there, a red receiver that Bond can use, and there's a little lever there that pulls this level down and up. So you can close those. Then inside the car, there is also a level of detail that are displayed on the car itself. There's a dashboard with lots of gauge kind of 1x1 round tiles that are placed on there. There is also inside the car, and this will be tricky for you to see here, but I'll try and get a good view of it for you. There is a little dashboard in the middle with a little cog that you can rotate, and when you spin it round, it will display a radar kind of piece so that James Bond can see where his car is in relation to other things on a map, and that rotates around into a normal dashboard look if you wanted to hide that. So that's quite a nice feature there. There is, and then we spin around. You can open the boot here and you can see inside the boot. So again, this is all constructed independently. So there's a couple of parts here that are hinged together. And inside the boot, it's just you've got a couple of these pieces, which I mentioned earlier, the telescope pieces. And this is where you could attach those Ninja spinning things to shred the tyres up. So I put that back in there. And, you know, Bond can put anything he likes inside of here, any other gadgets that he gets. And that goes down like that. You do also, if you spin the exhaust pipe here, you can get this bullet shield comes up. So in the movies, when bad guys were shooting at him, this would pop up to stop the rear windscreen being smashed with the bullets. So that's an easy mechanism and it works quite well. Got no problems with that. Then around the front, as we go around here, you have got the ability here on these headlights to rotate them around into guns. Now I've got a couple of issues with this. This is actually done with the lever of the gear stick inside. And what you should do is, I'm trying to push it now, is as I push it down, these rotate to reveal weapons, some guns, some pistols in the front, which he would use, you know, in battle to shoot people. But what I found when I built this was that the mechanism is a bit stiff. It kind of catches on the pieces of Lego underneath. And I don't know whether it's the way I constructed it, but I did rebuild it 3 times following the instructions. But I find that these blocks are independently built, stuck into an axle, and then they rotate round. But what they're doing is they're catching on the brick underneath that forms the curvature of the base of the front. And so they're not rotating properly. And when I was building it, as I'm pulling the lever, they're actually pinging off into different directions. So I'm a bit disappointed with that. And as I said, I tried to rebuild it 3 times to make sure it wasn't my dodgy building technique, but it does seem to be a problem. So I'd be interested if any of you out there had a similar problem. Stick some comments in the comments below, and maybe give me some pointers of where I should be looking if I'm missing something. But I could not figure out how to get it to work smoothly. But they should rotate around these 2 little glass areas here, and you should see some guns coming through, but it doesn't work for me. Unfortunately. As I said, there is some detail of the bonnet. So if I lift up the bonnet, which is built separately, you can actually see some detail of the engine. And so in here, you've got some pipes and some engine looking pieces. You actually use some gun pieces, Lego minifig gun pieces, to give some ideas of some cylinders and things inside the engine. So that's a nice little build. And there's a whole section and almost a whole bag, I think, on building that particular feature of the set. And this just rests on top without any problems there. Then also another major feature I think of this car is the fact that you can do an ejector seat. So of course, hopefully, you know, in Bond in this car, anybody who sits next to him is in the ejector seat and can be shot out of the top of the car. And what they've done, and before I do it, is in the rear here, it's just a case of pulling this part of the bumper on the car, you pull it out, and then that opens the roof, and then the seat shoots out. So let me just show you that now in action so you can see, and brace yourself because this could go anywhere. You just pull that and then pull it, and then it comes out, and then you let it go and the seat flies out. And then you just pop the seat back in again once you're happy with it. So let me just sort of show you that again. So you pull it to get the roof back, you let go of it, and it shoots the seat out. The seats are individually constructed as well out of bricks to give this kind of ruffled, well, bumped leather effect. And then that just slots back in, you just push that into place like that. So this part of the roof does retract, but this is actually static, this part of the roof. And I would take the roof off, but it gets a bit fiddly in terms of showing you more detail. There's a lot of mechanism in the back seats as well that gives you this ejector seat and the roof retracting feature. So there's no room in the back to put any figures. There are some stickers included in this set, but I think they're kept to a minimum. You do have to stick this Aston Martin logo on the front here on this tile at the front of the car. There are a couple here just to give this idea of the roof curving over this glass piece here. So you do have to add that in. And as I mentioned earlier, there's the dashboard that rotates around to give you the look of a radar going on. And of course, there's a logo at the back to complement the front. And then you have to stick all of the 4 different license plates on the front and the back. So those are probably the most strenuous ones of the license plates to make sure you get them straight, and this logo on the front and back. Because if they look a bit wonky, they'll probably make the car look a bit not so good when it's on display. So those are kind of the features walked through then. So, you know, this is a bit of a display piece. It's not going to go into Bricktown. It's going to be displayed next to my other car models that I've got, such as the Batmobile and Ecto 1, once I've figured out how I want them to look on the display. So let me just summarise now, and I'll give you an overview of what I think of the car. So overall, I like the idea of this build, and for most part, the execution of the model is good. The ejector seat mechanism works really well, I think, and I was surprised by that. And so is the bullet shield that pops up at the back, which is quite an easy mechanism just to rotate the exhaust, and then it just retracts quite easily. And the mechanism is quite smooth. Likewise for the ejector seat, it's a really easy mechanism, and actually I'm surprised at how it came together in the end. But the real disappointment for me, as I mentioned earlier on the review, was the rotation of these lights. And I don't know whether it's just my user error in construction or whether the instructions are flawed. So again, do let me know, because I'm happy to rebuild this to get this to work, but it's just not moving at all for me, even though I tried to pull the lever. So I feel something is slightly missing, and as a result I'm a bit disappointed with this overall model, just for that feature itself. If you're a Lego fan and a Bond fan though, I think this model will probably keep you captivated and will bring some of those iconic movie scenes to life if you're building through some of the features, such as the bulletproof rear windscreen protector and the ejector seat, which you've seen lots of times in the films. It looks really good on the shelf as well. You know, it's a quite striking design. I think the look that they've got here from Lego Bricks is really good. You know, you look at it and you do recognise it as James Bond's car. It's just so iconic. And so on that score, I think they've done a great job. And so if you're a Bond fan building this, you will really love it. I do hope maybe in the future they revise the build. Maybe they bring in some other vehicles from the Bond range to do them justice. I mean, one that springs to mind for me, for instance, is the Lotus car that was featured where it went into the water as a submarine and came out. I think that car or vehicle would really suit this kind of building, so you could actually change it into a submarine through some configuration changes. So, you know, we're hopeful. You never know, there might be some more Bond themes coming out. One thing I have seen as well on a lot of mocks are people building James Bond layers, which I think is a great idea. So if Lego were to pursue the James Bond license, I'd probably like to see them move away from vehicles and get more into some iconic scenes that they've built over that we've seen in films over the years, because I think some Lego pieces would serve well to construct some of those. And for kids, I'm sure, and adults actually, there'd be some playability and even some photo opportunities from what you can get from those kind of sets. I think you'll be pleased with this model if it's there for a display purpose. I think if you're going to buy it for all of the features, then you may get a little disappointed sometimes where things might not work as you'd expect them to. I mean, other vehicles that I've built recently, such as the Batmobile and Ecto 1, have done a far better job, I think, in terms of the features they've packed into the cars, the overall look and the playability. I think this one kind of falls short. Maybe that was more for an adult audience compared to those two vehicles. And of course, Lego's improving all the time. The designers are always getting better at their job. So I think this was probably, from 2018, it's probably one of the first ones that they started to do in this kind of vein. So they're certainly getting better. So if you found this review helpful, do hit that like button and hit subscribe with the bell notification turned on to be notified of future Lego reviews just like this one we do on the channel. And until next time, stay safe and I'll see you then.